In San Jose, California, lies one of the most famous haunted houses in the world, the Winchester Mansion. For decades, horror tales have trailed this forbidden mansion, so much that it's been nicknamed the House of 10,000 Ghosts. However, there's a lot more to this house than meets the eye, and it goes back to the woman who built it, Sarah Winchester. Join us in this video as we cover the myths, truths, and horrible events of the Winchester Mystery Mansion. Before diving into some horrifying stories and encounters that have trailed the Winchester Mansion, let's recap the story behind this haunted house. It started in 1862 when William Winchester fell in love with the love of his life, Sarah. The two got married and gave birth to a baby girl, who later died. Not long after, William Winchester died. While he was alive, William Winchester was the sole heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. And so, without an heir of his own, all his inheritance was willed to his life. Sarah Winchester became an overnight millionaire. Some even say she was the richest woman in the world. The Winchester Repeating Arms Company manufactured the Winchester rifle, a popular rifle at the time that could fire off several shots before needing a reload. It was the most popular weapon during the Civil War, and over 720,000 rifles were manufactured between 1873 and 1923. You would think that Sarah would be rolling in cash, doing whatever she liked. But no. Instead, she was informed by a psychic that the Winchesters were cursed with the will of the people their weapon had killed. She was warned sternly to appease the spirits of the millions of people who had died by her late husband's rifle, or she, too, would join them in the afterlife. In a bid to escape the horrifying ghosts that killed her husband, Sarah Winchester ran to California and bought a house. Since she believed that the ghost of everyone who had been killed by the rifle her late husband had invented would come for her, she turned her house into a maze. Constructions in her home never ended because the psychic warned her that the spirits would take her life once she stopped building. And so, every day, more and more rooms and sections were added to the house to make it bigger and more complex, so ghosts would have a hard time finding her. The house had many weird features. Some staircases led to nowhere. Others led to the blank ceiling. Doors were trapped shut with no way to access them, and a lot of other strange structures. A part of the story also claims that Sarah dabbled into the occult, conducting rituals every night in a seance room with a hidden door. She also built a bell tower to summon spirits at midnight and released them at 2 a.m. Sarah had an obsession and spiritual significance to the number 13. The house has 13 paneled ceilings, a 13-step stairway, 13 coat hooks in the seance room, and 13 different coats hanging on them. Due to how many spirits were after her and the intensity of all the spiritual activities she dabbled in, the house remained haunted even after Sarah passed on. Some people have reported seeing stick figures inside the mansion. Others have seen silhouettes and had strange feelings, like someone was watching them from the mansion. Most of the neighbors also report seeing shadows in the windows, like people peering out from the windows. A group of girls who took a photo shot in front of the house were shocked to find a figure, which seemed to be a little boy or girl, peering out of the window. As shocking as the Winchester Mystery Mansion may be, there's actually another twist to its origin story. You see, there are a few historians and experts who see the Winchester haunted house and the many stories about it as nothing but lies. Here's the other version. After the death of her husband, Sarah Winchester inherited about $362,000, equivalent to at least $15 million in recent times. However, instead of living the dream, the young widow invested her money. Her smart investments paid off, as her fortune kept growing yearly. But by the time she was 46, the young woman had developed arthritis, and so her doctors advised her to seek a warmer, calmer place. Sarah traveled west to California and opted for a unique, secluded farmhouse in San Jose. Sarah purchased the home and settled in. As time went on, Sarah began to dream of transforming her property. In her earlier years, Sarah had secretly desired to become an architect, but women weren't allowed in such professions at the time. She was her new home, as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a house herself. And so she started planning her dream home. She sketched her plans and hired construction workers to live on site while construction continued. Every day, work would commence on the house, with Sarah acting as the building manager and architect. As the house grew, Sarah continued making more and more adjustments. Sometimes, she would go as far as demolishing and reworking an entire room or section of the house to ensure it met her taste. This is one reason why so many parts of the house had weirdly shaped rooms and narrow halls. Also, her arthritis problem made her demand shorter stairs that were easier to climb. By 1900, Sarah had already decided to build 500 rooms and made significant progress. However, just when she was about to finish it, the 1906 earthquake hit San Francisco. The devastating earthquake destroyed entire sections of her house, leaving about 160 rooms. By this time, Sarah was getting older and her arthritis had worsened. Redesigning her house would be too much for her, and so she told her workers to just seal up any of the damage around the home. This is how some weird structures like the strange staircases and blocked-off rooms came to be. Eventually, Sarah succumbed to health issues and died in 1922. Her mansion was sold off to investors later that same year. The investors decided to turn the house into a tourist attraction. These investors devised a plan to make the house seem like a haunted house since haunted houses were popular at that time. These people fabricated the stories of Sarah Winchester's involvement in the occult and supernatural. They also said she designed the house weirdly to confuse ghosts. The fact that the house had a weird design and strange features made the stories all the more believable. And so, all of this makes you wonder, are the stories surrounding the Winchester Haunted Mansion actually true? Even now that the house has become a tourist attraction, tour guides often confess to seeing apparitions around the house, and sometimes they don't even let tourists into certain rooms. These guides also report perceiving strange smells and hearing noises in parts of the house, like the dining room. Once, some tourists even found a white figgy figure that resembled an old woman sitting in a chair in the dining room. Well, there's no way to find out except by visiting this place in person, right? This is exactly what a YouTube paranormal investigation team decided to do. In order to verify these stories of the famous haunted house, the team decided to pay a visit to the house at night. Their results were totally unexpected. First, they entered one of the famous haunted rooms. The room was fondly called the Witch's Hat due to its unique shape. One of the popular stories from this room is about a woman who experienced tappings on her hat when she entered the room alone. She left the room in fear and returned with an assistant, only to experience the same tappings on her hat again. Horrified, she left the room, never to return. This paranormal investigation team decided to check for any ghosts in the room using a REM pod. A REM pod is a device that emits its own electromagnetic field. Anything that enters or disrupts that field will give off an alarm. The higher the alarm, the greater the disruption. The device can also detect temperature fluctuations in a room caused by the intrusion of strange entities. They also brought along a spirit box, a popular device that detects the presence of ghosts and also allows for communication with spirits. While trying to engage ghosts using their instruments, these men obtained weird readings and strange sounds from the spirit box. Also, their static cam, which was previously fully charged, died suddenly. At about the same time, the REM pod began to give off strong signals like someone was sitting right next to it. They picked up some sentences from the spirit box. At one time, they even heard the name Sarah. At the very end, they heard a go, which prompted them to leave. At Sarah's seance room, they noticed that the temperature dropped, and they heard a strange female voice picked up by one of their spirit instruments. Finally, they were tapping sounds that seemed like it was someone tampering with their camera. The team also witnessed other strange minor activity in other parts of the house. All of this points to the fact that even if some stories about this house are fake, the house may still be haunted to this very day. At this point, There's still a huge controversy over Sarah Winchester and the legacy she left behind. Was she simply a rich, troubled woman who focused her energy on building a home as a way to drown her sorrows? Or was she actually in league with ghosts and spirits that decided to hang on to her legacy after she was done? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comment box. Remember to subscribe to our channel if you found this content valuable. And we'll see you in the next one.